Welcome everybody to the Crux of Crypto. I am your host for today's show, Crux, and sorry for the technical difficulties. This is the first time out of almost 4 months now where I've been live streaming, and I was a minute late, so I apologize. I had a couple technical difficulties there, but I had to get a poll running for you guys as well. So as you can see, today there's a big discussion on what's going on with the Solana and the Cardano ecosystem. So if you have some Solana, throw S's in chat. If you have some Cardano, put some C's. I just want to see how many of our concurrent viewers currently are holding these two projects. I know a lot of people in my community have been fairly bullish on these projects throughout this cycle, but lost a little bit of faith, especially in Cardano. So I think it's very, very, very important that I come and I bring an update to you guys, letting you know these projects are far from dead. I hold both of these projects, and spoiler, I have high expectations for both going into the future. So, if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, share this video with somebody else like that you really, really, really hold truly dear to your heart, like a friend, a family member. And let's go ahead, without further ado, get the show under the road. All right, so what I typically do in my live streams is I always look at the current state of the markets. We're sitting at just over 3 trillion. We've been here for almost a month at this point, around $3 trillion, up and down. Got a little under 3 at one point, as high as like 3.2, maybe a couple weeks ago, and then now we're back down. So this seems like Bitcoin seems to be consolidating, and alts are slightly bleeding out towards Bitcoin, and you can see that in the dominance up there at 57%. And then something else I like to definitely always look into as an analyst is the trending cryptocurrencies. So I didn't prepare today for you guys on exactly why some of these are trending, but let's go ahead and go off the top of the dome. So Bitcoin's going to be trending because it is the mega crypto. Everybody wants to know what is happening with Bitcoin because all of these other projects, we got tens of thousands of crypto projects that follow Bitcoin. Next, we got Aave. So Aave is your biggest application in all of crypto, and it's probably trending because Crux dropped a video not long ago. Uniswap versus Aave. After this live stream, make sure you go watch it. Everybody wants to know Crux's thoughts on this one, so that's why it's trending. Pudgy Penguins is trending because it is CoinGecko, and CoinGecko, I think, has a bias towards this project, and I wouldn't be surprised if they might be getting funded. But, this is just speculation. I don't know why. I've seen Pudgy Penguins every single time I've covered these trending cryptocurrencies. It's on here. So I'm always be vocal, give my honest takes. It's not that great of a project, but I think it's okay to have some exposure to that one. Caspa, on the other hand, is a great project, and it's awesome to see it's finally trending. It's barely ever trending, and honestly, the reason this project's going to be trending is you have some big upgrades coming soon. You have Igra Labs dropping smart contracts as soon as a couple weeks from now. I think we were going to be going into January where Caspa gets smart contracts. So I drop a ton of Caspa content. I'm not going to get too long-winded here on why I think it's my favorite project in all of crypto. But if you want to learn a little bit more about Caspa, make sure you like this channel and subscribe because I will definitely drop some alpha going into Q1 next year. Midnight is going to be trending because today I will talk a lot about the Cardano news and how this influences Midnight in particular. As you know, Midnight it is, natively produced on Cardano, and eventually it'll be a sidechain for interoperability amongst all different networks. So it's not just a Cardano play, but IOHK Foundation is who funded Midnight. So it's a privacy sidechain. I like what they're doing over there. I understand why they're trending. You got Hyperliquid. You have a lot of liquidity being pushed within trading volume. That's longing and shorting these markets. So Hyperliquid's definitely going to be one of those trending projects. Don't know exactly much about SQD. I don't want to mislead you on that one, so I'd stay away from this for now. BitTensor Tau. I've been very optimistic about this one. Typically what happens after having events is you have a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So that's why you see, if you look over at BitTensor's Tau's chart, if I get out of the way, you'll see it's down and right. And that's, again, if you understand crypto, you understand how to make money. And just like I said, if you understood the halving event, you would know there's a sell-off, so why not short? So you don't have to look at charts all day and try to find cool little patterns to be able to trade. You can understand the fundamentals and how social sentiment acts in comparison. So next up, we got some Solana. That one's also trending because of what I'll be talking about today. Not going to get too long-winded on that one. Monad, I would stay away from this project. It has brought nothing new to the table. It's a layer one that exists, and that's about it. So There's a lot of early VC money in that project, and I'm still expecting a sell-off for quite a bit of while. And the tokenomics are abysmal. Not even bad, not even horrible. They are abysmal. So I'd stay away from Monad. Moving on, we got Aster, the exact opposite. One of my favorite tokenomics in all of crypto. One of the best trading platforms in all of crypto. Perp dexes. Where you at? If you hold some perp dexes, throw P's in chat. All right, next up, we got some Ethereum with the Fusaka hard fork upgrade, now live. This project's probably going to be trending for quite a while. And then you got some Tom Lee and some other speculators in there believing that Ethereum is going to get back to $4,000 sooner than later. Next up, we got Monero. So this is a privacy narrative token. It's a little different than Zcash in terms of how they operate. I like Zcash. It gives you the ability to toggle on and off, but Monero on the other point is actually more private. So if you're looking for that perfect privacy crypto, I'd actually go with Monero. However, about 3 months ago, there was an attack on their network, and somebody got over 51% of the network hash rate. So technically, they could have double spent on that network and ruined the blockchain. So this is a vulnerability that happens within any proof of work network. So I would not hold Monero. I would not hold that specifically against Monero. It could happen. Bitcoin at one point actually had a single mining pool with over 51% hash rate. So this is all proof of work networks in general. Next up, we got some gold. Gold hit $4,500. Silver, also, I'll talk about a little bit later, is on a run as well. So gold and silver holders, you guys are loving it. Lastly, we got some XRP. I'll talk a little bit about XRP because I'll be talking quite a bit about the ECB today, which is the European Central Bank. And it has ties to SWIFT, but XRP is the big dog trying to rival SWIFT. So I'll talk a little bit about here shortly. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of Q&A, and then I'll jump into some news. So I see a good amount of questions. All right, Mike, still holding ADA strong. Kind of wish I sold it when it was over $1. Lesson learned. Looks like I'm round tripping that one, right? So there's some projects that I think will survive a bear winter, but the big thing about all of this is if a project did not make a new all-time high this cycle, why would it make a new all-time high in next cycle? So if we go into 2027, what's saying that Cardano is even going to get back to $1.10? So these are the questions you always have to ask yourself and understand Bitcoin is king. It has been the most proven and secure network out there. So if you're holding a crypto project, always compare it to Bitcoin. And if you believe it has a better risk to reward, then go ahead and grab it. But I mean, Bitcoin has been proven over and over and over. In fact, 75% of people that held Bitcoin for just 1 year, 75% of people are in profit. 3 years, 99% of people that held Bitcoin for 3 years are in profit. So you don't get these, excuse me, you don't get these same metrics for projects like a Cardano or even an Ethereum, for example. What happens with these projects is they go up, people make a ton of money, and then they may go down and never return. So that's something to consider if you're going to be in crypto. Bitcoin should be your biggest bag. So that is something that I'm still learning because I love my altcoins. But what I'm starting to personally think is do what you can to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, whether that's buying altcoins and taking profits into Bitcoin. I think that's a smart move going into the next bull market. But you guys know, I'm not bullish right now. I'm not bullish next month. Not bullish even in 6 months. I'm thinking we bottom out going into Q4 of next year. And I'm about 60% probable on that. But I got a video that's coming out here shortly. I think on Thursday of this week. Yeah, in a couple days. I'm writing the script for it now, doing a good amount of research. And it's all about the supply shock of Bitcoin. This is super important. People sleep on the supply shock. This, honestly, is what controls the 4-year cycle. If you understand the Bitcoin halving events, you understand supply and demand. But the interesting part about supply and demand is how do you know the exact supply of Bitcoin, right? How do we know that 3 million tokens are lost? Why is it not 4 million? Why is it not only 2 million? So the supply is definitely subjective within Bitcoin. What is not subjective is it is hard-coded for having a 21 million max supply going all the way out until the year 2140. So Bitcoin, there's a lot of uncertainties with it, but also the demand. So the demand is very speculative as well, because what happens is MicroStrategies and all these institutions, they buy over the counter, which means nobody can really truly understand the demand of it, because there's supply and demand that are not exactly accounted for on Bitcoin, which is why I personally think, in my head, Bitcoin's already over $1 million. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but understanding value is different than understanding price. And I want you guys to understand, Crux at Crypto is never going bearish on value. I'll go bearish on price, but not on value. All right, very long-winded there, but I see a couple more people tuning in. Hitting that like button says, wrong again, one of our pro traders. Shout out to the VIP trading group. You guys are crushing it. I'm not going to lie. I get a little bit envious of you guys because I'm over here researching, reading white papers, and somebody's over here throwing a plus 400% gain in the VIP trading group on some random token. So yeah, if you're able to make money, you're able to make money. And I'll tell you, that VIP trading group is super good at not only teaching you how to trade, but also teaching you risk management, which is probably the most important part. So shout out you guys. Cat in the Hat says, yo, Crux, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Cat in the Hat. And also, last week was my last Thursday live stream. So that being said, I'm only doing one live stream a week, but don't fret. I'm dropping 3 static videos a week now. So I'm going one up on the static videos, one down on the live stream. And especially in a bear winter, the static videos will help you much more because I'm able to take the time to really analyze what's going on in the markets and present it in a beautiful manner. And if you really see my channel, it is starting to really take off. I love to see it. You guys are supporting me quite a bit. Thumbnails are getting better. Content's getting better. And the only thing that's stopping me from blowing up is the price of Bitcoin. So if we were in a bull market right now, this channel would be up and right, but nobody wants to tune in. But I'll tell you, the most important times to tune in are the bear markets because bear markets make legends. Let's go. Peace, Crux in chat, says Carl. Thank you. I don't know if Carl's ever missed one of my live streams, so shout out. You are definitely an OG there. Roni, he is saying, from the question you make, I understand that cycle is over. Is it over? I'll tell you this, because I'm be honest. People say this time is different, right? It can mean two different things. This time is different. Yes, I think fundamentally there's some different shifts, and I've outlined all of that many times on this channel. Institutions are here. ETFs are here. Like governments are here, honestly. We have the biggest governments, China, United States, throwing their money at Bitcoin. Well, seizing Bitcoin from their citizens. But Bitcoin, almost 500,000 of it is owned by the United States, all from illicit activity without spending a single taxpayer dollar. So I think these countries are definitely going to protect their assets. And then eventually the floodgates really open up whenever actual money goes in, which I think will happen next cycle. So this is the regulatory cycle. Next cycle is the institutional cycle. And I continue to harp on that. And that's whenever Bitcoin is going to surpass, in my opinion, $500,000. And we're going by 2029 metrics. So it's a little optimistic, but I think we'll have to break the 4-year cycle for that to happen. And this is with the thesis of me doing 18% Bitcoin is owned by institutions currently. Doubling that would be 36%, which every single cycle, the institutions get twice as much Bitcoin relative to retail and everyone else. So this is all analysis I've done. If this is your first time hearing it, definitely continue to research and understand my channel because it is nothing but a plethora of information. So Juby, he says, hey Crux, good to see you. I got a simple question. If Caspa is your favorite project, why hold so little of it? So I have 200,000 Caspa tokens, which is, I don't think it's a little. Yeah, so I think you said you have 100K tokens. I mean, that's a lot for some people, but for you, no. Yeah, so I actually have 200,000 tokens, Juby, of Caspa. And I don't plan on accumulating any more, but I will tell you, I am diamond handing those to 0 if I have to. Ricky Romero says, good to DCA in Tau or wait? All right, good question. Good, because DCAing is all relative to you, right? So if I DCA per month, it's also you and your portfolio. So If I DCA once per month, right, and I buy Bitcoin at $80,000, and then next month it's $70,000. So it actually went down in value. I could buy it at the lower price and bring it down, my average buy down to like a 75K and average it. I strongly recommend people DCA and lower their bags as they can. So if my price for Tau is like 10 cents and it's currently 12 cents, I would probably stay away from it. Now, DCAing is DCA basically states buying X amount every Y days. So buying $10 worth every 7 days or buying $20 every 1 month. So there's different strategies for people that DCA. I personally don't like to DCA. I like to bulk buy and bulk sell in accordance with the 4-year cycle, but I don't tell people not to DCA. The reason I don't DCA is because this is my job. I'm here 24/7 studying crypto, the markets, and I think I can outpace, a DCA strategy. So, but I will tell you that, again, the people that bought Bitcoin for 3 years, 99% of the people are in profit. The people that bought Bitcoin for 1 year, 75% are in profit. The people that bought Bitcoin for one day are up 53%, or have a 53% probability that they're going to make money. So of all the assets, if I'm going to long an asset, it should be Bitcoin. What other asset do you know you can invest in one day and be up 3% on average? There is none. Point blank, period. So if you're going to long, it should probably be Bitcoin, unless you use fundamentals, of course. You can long other stuff other than Bitcoin, clearly. But this is my thoughts. I'm not a trader. I'm a fundamental guru. So, all right, I'm getting a little long-winded here. Let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah, there are a lot of questions. All right, so I have doubts with projects with large amounts of tokens in total supply. I go with projects 100 to 650 million in token supply. So Kinder TV, so if there's a large amount of tokens that they're going to create, that's not a big issue. The big issue is how many are in circulation. Because if you're just specifically talking about the total supply, it's not that big of a, like, there's projects out there that have, 1 trillion tokens that will be in circulation, like a lot of meme coins. But the good thing about meme coins is all of them are in circulation on day 1. What does this mean? Over time, there's not an emission schedule that goes out to early people that got them for pennies on the dollar and are up 5, 10, 20x, and then they dump on you the moment they get those tokens. So the good thing about meme coins is the tokenomics. I love to see tokens and projects with at least 75% of their tokens in circulation. And I'm sure you're asking, Crux, where can I find the amount of tokens in circulation for any project? Well, you can come over here to your favorite website, CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, and on the left-hand side on any of these, it'll tell you the circulating supply over there, Bitcoin, you're sitting at just under 20, and then the total supply is, the max supply is 21 million. So as you can see, almost all the Bitcoin that will ever be created are in circulation. I think it's a little over 90%, and it goes out until 2140. You got about 450 Bitcoin coming in every single day into the markets. So, all right, I think I was definitely long-winded there. I got a lot of information out there, but I think it's time to cover some more news. So this is a big story of the day. This is Crux saying this, Night is not ADA's last opportunity to succeed. So I have not given up on Cardano. I know a lot of people have, and I don't envy you for it. I just personally haven't, and I still hold my tokens. So Sol and Cardano have something brewing, and you can see it from these two. Cardano has Charles Hoskinson, the biggest, really the founder of Cardano, and then you have Anatoly Yakovenko over there for Solana, and they're collaborating. Well, possibly collaborating. They're talking over on X, so we got something brewing, and this goes into it a little bit more in depth. So this guy over here says, you said we should bring Sol to ADA, where there's almost zero volume. Solana is already on Bybit and other sexes. You are making a non-sequential argument. If there's zero volume, why is Cardano native token doing nearly 4x the entire Solana volume? I don't know what this guy's talking about at all. Are you the marketing department? Can I speak to the manager? And then Dave then says, in all seriousness, you should, or I don't like Solana. but I'm pro interoperability. Solana should consider this. Would save going via base really? And then you can see this is right here is the founder of Solana. Let's do it. And then Charles Hoskinson retweeted it saying time to get cooking. So we have something brewing. I'm a holder of both of these ecosystems. I'm a believer of both of these ecosystems in two different ways. So Solana, you got the scalable L1 network. You have the move fast, break things. It's no longer going down like it did last bull market. I think the last time it went down might have been almost 2 years ago. So that's something to consider. It is centralized. So if you're a centralization maxi, you might want to stay away from this one. But I personally like Solana. As you can see by my shirt, your boy is fishing some Solana. And then Cardano, on the other hand, is completely different. You have a peer-reviewed network, very scholarly, very research-driven, and through their Ouroboros protocol, which they've updated across 5 different phases of their roadmap, they are looking to complete essentially the trilemma, which is decentralization, security, and scalability. So you have to be able to be fast, you have to be able to be decentralized, and you have to be secure, which is very difficult for any of these L1s to accomplish. But I'll tell you, Cardano's biggest, I would say to this day, Cardano's biggest issue is its scalability. It is very slow. It is secure, it is decentralized, it is not scalable. And people can argue Hydra, they can argue Mithril, they can even argue Midnight. A sidechain a sidechain takes away from the security and the decentralization of a layer 1. So if you rely on Night, which is a sidechain, you are taken away from the L1. So that's something to consider. You're going to have to fix it sooner than later, Cardano, but I think that they are on the right track. Let's go ahead and get further into this. All right, so this is a post that I have earlier today. It says, just because the price of Bitcoin goes down doesn't mean the value goes down. So this is kind of goes with what I was talking about earlier. 450 Bitcoin per day come into circulation, while MSTR alone purchased 600 Bitcoin per day in 2025. So price is misleading as over-the-counter sales throw off the value, while you continue to refresh the charts thinking you got a bad deal. Remember, supply and demand is what determines the price. Neither of these two are fully accounted for with Bitcoin. They are what's agreed upon by the major exchanges in control and what people perceive to be true. And then this is the most important line in all of this. Once you learn to price Bitcoin as over $1 million in your head, you will be lethal in this market. I'm telling you, the hodlers do well. Actually, the hodlers do the best. Traders do okay. Yeah, if you're a good trader, you'll do okay, but most traders don't. Honestly, they would have done better if they just bought Bitcoin and held it, locked it away. And the people with the most Bitcoin are the ones that lost access to their wallet because their emotions did not get the best of them. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. Something else I want to share with you guys is something I noticed more or less about 2 years ago. All right. So this right here is MSTR versus Bitcoin's chart. And what we're going to do is put this on the 5-year. So this is a 5-year chart comparing Bitcoin versus MSTR. So what happens out of a bear winter, the crypto stocks do extremely well. We're talking 2023. If you go and, always back test what I'm telling you guys. Look at the price action of MSTR. Look at the price action of Marathon and all these other projects back in 2023 shooting out of bear winter. So in my head, I'm already thinking going into about 2027, because I think we're going to bottom out around late next year. 2027 is going to be a huge year for crypto stocks. So if we can get the Coinbases, the MSTRs, and all these stocks, that would be the year. As of now, I am not buying any of these stocks. As you can see, the stocks have outperformed Bitcoin, but are starting to push back down. So I think overall, the better buy typically is just some Bitcoin, even over most of the stocks. But if you know how to time the stocks correctly, start preparing yourself. I always think one cycle ahead. So, Crux, what are you doing? I've bought 0 crypto in like the past 6 months. I've been hoarding dry powder. I have tens of thousands of dollars ready, pretty close to 6 figures in dry capital, ready to deploy in a moment's notice. And guess what? I'm not deploying anytime soon. I'm thinking 40K Bitcoin October. And I know this may hurt feelings, but 90% of my portfolio was purchased sub 25K Bitcoin this bull market because of this strategy. So I'm not saying I know everything, but I've been there, I've done that, and I'm 1 for 1 currently for buying into, actually 2 for 2. I bought a ton of crypto back in 2020 into crypto. So, and again, I created this channel really to help lead people in the right direction. I don't want people to, and I'll tell you, I've lost more crypto than most people that I know. I've lost close to 7 figures worth of crypto. So that's something pretty interesting. And I don't talk about the success without the losses because you're going to get hit with both. If you are successful, it doesn't come without losses. And it's what I consider is the price of education. So continue to follow this channel, and I will show you how you can get those 7 figures back in crypto. All right. So next up, we have a pretty cool clip. This is where a news network, CNBC, announced live on TV that banking giant JP Morgan will now accept Bitcoin as collateral. So I think the most important part of this entire clip is going to be about why is it not specifically taking Bitcoin and Ethereum natively? Why is it IBIT? And here we go.
Clients to pledge Bitcoin and Ether as collateral for loans. Leslie Picker is joining us now with details. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Morgan. Yeah, and chatting with sources familiar with the matter, I'm told it's still early days. And for now, the concept is limited to the firm's trading business. JP Morgan's trading business has, for a few months now, accepted IBIT, the ETF, as a form of collateral, which it sees as less volatile as the underlying currency. However, I'm told that certain hedge fund managers and asset managers are demanding more of these types of crypto services, although, again, I'm told that offering Bitcoin and Ether as collateral for trading is not imminent at.
Right. This to me sucks. Not the whole overall concept, but the whole native part of Bitcoin and ETH and other native cryptos not being taken in by the banks, and the banking's going towards the securities like an IBIT. It's overall good because either way, IBIT has to buy the Bitcoin on behalf of the shareholders. But I would like to see the banks actually taking loans against people's crypto, or at least, yeah, basically. So you guys let me know. What are your thoughts on the banks? Do you trust the banks? I mean, honestly, Bitcoin was created to keep the banks out of our pockets, right? So Satoshi created it with one thing in mind. It was how to make peer-to-peer network without intermediaries, third parties. And I think this day and age, we're in the second decade of cryptocurrencies, and every decade we have something that pops, right? Going back to 1990, we have the internet. Going back to 2010, we have, 2000s, we have cell phones. 2010, blockchain technology. 2020, we have AI. Every decade, we have a massive asset class that really proves itself. And I think the second decade of Bitcoin is where it's okay to allow the banks to take loans against your Bitcoin. Now, I wouldn't give my Bitcoin particularly, but yeah, I think borrowing against it is not a bad idea. All right. So we'll do one last thing, and then we'll go ahead and jump into some Q&A, which is talk about the Whop memberships. So the Essentials, this is our VIP trading group. I've referenced them multiple times. They launch trades. There's trade signals. There's trade alerts. It's pretty cool. And also, we just dropped our, it's called Flow Signals, but it's a trading indicator that's really dope. It's telling you how to find those breakout patterns, and it puts it on your trading view chart. So if you're not a great trader, think about joining our Essentials membership. Next up, we have the Academy. This is where myself, Tim, and T-Shroom, we teach you not only how to become a better trader, we teach you how to build that perfect portfolio, and then lastly, how to research macroeconomic conditions, such as what does the Japan carry trade mean for your bags, these types of things. And then lastly is the Gem Hunters, which is a group I run, where we try to find those low to mid cap altcoins where we can compete the ROI of Bitcoin. Because remember, in crypto, you're always competing against Bitcoin. You're not competing against anything else. It is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's the safest. If you're taking the risk, you better get the reward. And that's what we do over there with the Gem Hunters. So without further ado, let's go ahead and answer some questions you guys got going on here. I see a lot pouring in. Hey, Crux, says Angel. Okay, what up, Angel? Hope all is well. 2026 will make it clear. Bye bye for your cycles. Wrong again. You are wrong again, brother. I mean, you're a good trader. I mean, we can agree to disagree, and we will leave it at that. But if you guys didn't know, we have a free newsletter in our Discord server. So if you haven't joined our Discord server, what are you doing? Join below. There's a link down there. And Wrong Again, he is crushing it with these newsletters. And every week on Monday, they drop it, and it gives you a good opportunity to get ahead of the markets. It talks about the FOMC meeting that's coming up. It talks about the Genius Act or the Clarity Act. All these updates that matter in crypto are here. They're in our free newsletter. You should join our Discord server to get access to that. Tau looks near a bottom, says Wrong Again. Okay, so I'll say this. Let's go ahead and bring up a Tau chart real quick. And this is really all cryptos in general. So I do think the recent sell-off did come from that fundamental piece of the 4-year cycle of Tau. The wrong chart, wrong screen up. So this project is on its own support, as you can see back in like September of 2024, May of 2025. We're testing it again from all the way back to January of 2024. So we are bouncing off of this support. This would be a great time to buy some Tau if you believe in the technicals over the fundamentals. So this is a good pattern to buy technically, but fundamentally is where the 4-year cycle comes to play. And every 210,000 blocks, Crux is going to tell you we have this halving event, and it crushes the supply that goes in circulation. And really, it's more psychological than anything. Now, it does crush the supply, which is a physical thing. But I do think it's more psychological in a sense. And also, it's important to note that most miners nowadays are willing to hold at a loss. So back in the day, people would see they're mining their Bitcoin, and the moment they get to a loss, they're going to shut it off because it's not proven. But people know that whenever it cost $21,000 on average to mine Bitcoin, people were mining it all the way down to 15.5. So if I would have just kept my miner on, I would have made a ton of money. Why did I shut it off? Just because I'm getting below the average price to run it. So now you mine in expectation of Bitcoin going up in the future, as opposed to living in the present. So I think that's super important to note with the 4-year cycle in general. But I always am going to choose fundamentals over technicals because of the 4-year cycle. And it's the most proven thing in crypto. We're talking 4 for 4. And the theory goes, Q4 the year after Bitcoin's halving, you hit a peak. Everything else is just noise. And I'm very understanding of this stuff. I've done videos with all these different, indicators. And what about the I don't know, the pi cycle indicator, or what about the Rodel ratio, or the Puel multiple, or all these indicators? What about these most of these indicators rely on moving averages, which is what most traders use to figure out if they believe the 4-year cycle is intact or not. But I'll tell you, this is the most important thing, or most interesting thing that I've seen. Most fundamental people like myself believe that the 4-year cycle is still intact. Most traders, like our pro traders, etc., are going to believe that it's broken. So it's interesting that the people that look at the charts are the ones that are saying it's broken, even though it clearly shows in the charts every 4 years. Let's bring up Bitcoin. It has that big event. But if you ask any trader, why do you think the 4-year cycle is broke? They're going to tell you the ETFs are here. They're going to tell you the institutions are here, et cetera, et cetera. So this is clearly a pattern. Every 4 years, it does something. And then exact opposite is the people that really understand the fundamentals are telling you this thing is staying put. So anyways, very long-winded there. Love all the people in the trading group here support my channel. You guys are dope. Good afternoon, Cruxes. Justa dude. What's up, Justa? Hope all is well. All right, Juby says, sorry if my question came across rude. When you read it out loud, it made me think about it. No, I mean, I have, bro. First of all, I was an Army infantry officer. So there's nothing you could say on this thing that's going to actually make me offended. Point blank period. I've been through hell and back, and I'm here to bring you guys news, and that's it. So you guys aren't going to offend me. You guys could, you could say Crux is dumb. What is he talking about? And It is what it is. I've heard much worse. All right. V Hunt says, since 2022, most important lesson I've learned to take profits and do not hodl most altcoins. Most alts will never bounce back to a new all-time high. I agree with that, V Hunt. I think at least 90 to 99% of alts will go to zero eventually. Mike Jr. says, how bad do you think Ondo token unlock will hurt it? So last time I brought up the token unlock for Ondo, it is bad. We are talking about January 18th for the next like 4 years, I think going into 2029. It has I want to say it's like 14% to 18% token unlock. But let's go to January 18th of 2025, which is going to be about right here. All right, so right up in there, you can see this huge sell-off. Now, I don't attribute all of this to just this token unlock. I attribute most of that price action before it, which is the buy the rumor, sell the news event. So I could definitely consider a pretty big sell-off coming into January on Ondo in particular. So if you're waiting to load up on your Ondo bags, I would wait until that token unlock. As you can see, 2025, it happened, which was the first time, by the way, that it had that, what we call a cliff unlock. So cliff unlocks happen differently than, what are the other ones? So there's cliff unlocks which happen really all at once, very quickly, and then there's other ones that like slowly unlock as time goes. So slipped off the top of my mind the name of it, but that's how that works. All right, and we'll read one more question. We'll jump into a story that I want to talk to you guys about. It's not going to be what's going to be market moving or anything, but it's going to be me getting in my own head, getting my thoughts out. I just got my desk set up in my new home, Crux. Do you think you guys will have another discount to join a year membership? This is a good question because you heard it here first. You heard it here first. Angel is asking, will we have another discount to join our year membership? And very soon, make sure you are in our Discord server. We will release an announcement in that server. I don't know if we're going to say it anywhere else, but this is the only time I'm going to mention this. Be in our server and look for a discount. So, and going into New Year, let's just say that. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into what I really want to talk about. So I woke up earlier and I saw this video and I want to give my thoughts on it. So here we go. This is a little backstory. This is Christine Lagarde. She is the head of the European Central Bank. So you have the president of the European Central Bank there, admits to EU's new CBDC, the digital euro, which will impose control. So this really upsets me, by the way, because we are talking about a programmable currency that these people are talking about will limit how much you can hold. Imagine that. Imagine someone saying you can only have 30,000 US dollars. That's it, legally. And this is the type of stuff that I'm fighting against. I'm educating people on this because I do not want to see it for my European brethren. So without further ado, you can either take my word for it or you can listen to her herself.
And introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How can switching to an electronic currency help?
Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the gray market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But you know, the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control, you're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, you know, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
All right, so you heard it from her. She's probably the most influential person up there working with the IMF. They're both aligned in this, by the way. The IMF is closer to the ECB as opposed to someone like El Salvador who wants the freedom for their people. And again, this is the reason I got into crypto. So spoiler, if you're trying to make a ton of money off the next 10, 20 minutes, you know, I'm not going to give you too much alpha, But I'm going to tell you guys, this is how you get people to buy into your vision. You don't need to go tell your family that Bitcoin's going to go up 99% or with 99% probability if you just hold it on for 3 years. You should probably tell them that there's countries out there that are coming to tell you that you cannot spend your funds on certain things or program it to be set within their limitations. And we saw it actually with the 2021, you know, it was the 2020 truckers in Canada that stood up against the COVID vaccines, and they were frozen from their bank accounts. So this happened through the traditional banking system, but with crypto, all of this can happen in accordance with the digital credit score or these types of things. And Europe seems to be going the wrong direction. The United States, we're in the right direction. China is somewhere in the neutral party. So China, what they're doing is they're saying we're going to stay away from all that stuff, but they own the second most of it. You know, they own the second most Bitcoin after the United States. So clearly, China is just watch what they're doing, not what they're saying. And then Europe is headed in the wrong direction. And to lean a little bit further into this, we have some people in Europe that are trying to change this. So a new bill was proposed accumulating 420,000 Bitcoin. I like that number. Nearly 2% of the supply over 7 to 8 years, using a nuclear and hydro power for mining and allowing Bitcoin payment for taxes. So I'll tell you this is not going to get a lot of support, especially not in Europe. And I think Christine Lagarde has something to say about that bill. So it's unfortunate we have some people that are trying to understand the way the United States is the global power of the world, and people are fighting back, and it's not good. So I also like to give Senator Cynthia Lummis her shout out because what she's doing is incredible. I really hope the Bitcoin Act it was called the 2025, will probably be changed to the Bitcoin Act of 2026, where the United States accumulates over 1 million Bitcoin in a 5-year span. So this is whatever taxpayer funds will be implemented into Bitcoin, and we will see if that happens. Yeah, so I've been very vocal. If you want to hear more thoughts about that, I posted on X. You can check out my X down there. I'm not going to get too long-winded about this. But again, it is the reason why I got into crypto. I want to educate the world on where we are headed. This is way bigger than just making some money. What's the point in getting a 3 or 5 or 10x if you can't even spend your money? I don't know. So, all right, I think that's enough. Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of bullishness. We got Arizona moving to cut crypto taxes. So Arizona's not the first. They're not going to be the last. Arizona was actually one of the first, though. They started pushing for these regulations before really most other states. You had Arizona and Utah. I think they were the first two. Eventually, you had Wyoming come along, which now actually has their own stablecoin created on Avalanche. Then you have Texas, and you have a couple other states. So good to see Arizona making some changes for their state taxes. And then also, this is super important because if I could pay my state taxes without paying capital gains on my Bitcoin, that is huge. That is an awesome use case. And again, the more use cases Bitcoin has, the more adoption it's gonna get. So good to see Arizona. Let's get it. And I mentioned earlier, I'll talk a little bit about silver. So it just surpassed Apple, becoming the 3rd largest asset in the world. That's crazy. That is crazy. I'm not gonna say well deserved, but maybe. So I like my commodities. I like silver. I like gold. Is it bigger than Apple? I don't think so. Honestly, I didn't think Apple was the 3rd biggest in the world. Like, I don't know why Apple's more valuable than a Google or a Microsoft, but it is, and we will see. So Apple, I think, follow the money. Follow the money. Warren Buffett, and you know, always check what I'm going to tell you. Warren Buffett sold 75% of his Apple shares, and he went and bought some Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. So you always got to ask yourself, what's going to happen with Apple next if they're not going to be the lead innovators of a brand new AI chain like a Gemini or a Grok, for example. Apple has kind of stolen off of all these other brands. Guess what? So right over there on the other side of the room, I have my Samsung Ring. It's a ring you can put on your finger. It tests your metrics. It's pretty dope. This is a Samsung watch. Apple always waits a year to 2 years after Samsung does anything, and then they implement it and they try to improve it. So this is the Galaxy S25. You guys have probably seen the Z Flip, the Fold, all those. Guess what? Apple in the next 2 to 3 years is going to have that same thing. I guarantee it. And that's what they've been known for. They're the copy and the paste. They do it in a security way, though. So they really protect their users, which I appreciate. But they don't, I'm not going to say they don't innovate. They just figure out what works, and then they make it, they market it. So anyways, shout out Silver for getting up there. And then lastly, I'm going to give 2 updates on these videos. So ICP versus NEAR. This video just dropped yesterday. I think it's pretty cool. I've been getting a lot better on my thumbnails, by the way. I think it was pretty engaging. This is something you might see in the theaters, you know? And then, so make sure you go watch that after this. And then lastly, this video drops Thursday. This is when I talk about the supply shock of Bitcoin. And you see 2026 up there at the top right. I might even talk about the price action a little bit and where I think it's going to head. So that's pretty cool. Be on the lookout for those 2 pieces of content. And I got 10 minutes, which is quite a bit of time for some Q&A. So let's go ahead and answer some questions. Send it. Maybe a New Year's deal on the memberships. Yes, Angel. I think that would be a good idea. But yeah, definitely check out that Discord. Ricky Romero says, so you think we are officially in a bear market? So I'm still 60-40. Excuse me. All right. So I'm still 60-40. 60% certain that we are in a bear market, which I've been here since October. You can check out my video I released in October saying, I think we're in a bear winter. The only thing that's going to change this right now is 100K Bitcoin by New Year's, which is, it's plausible. Will Bitcoin pump 10K in the next week? It's pumped a lot more in a lot less time. So I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but if Bitcoin does not reclaim 100K, I'm switching from 70 to 30. So it'll be 70-30. 70% probable we are in a bear winter, 30% certain that we are in a bull market. So that is something to consider. And, you know, I'll put my 4-year cycle knowledge up against anybody I know. Like, I'm not here to just like gloat or brag. I study this. I live this. Like crypto, I literally dream about this stuff. How much time I spend reading white papers. And it's not only for me, it's for you guys. Like I'm trying to make a movement here. As you can see, my boy Crypto Billy over there in the comments, that's a brother over there. Givers Gain. So Givers Gain, and let me give my quick shout out real quick. So Givers Gain is a community that took me in as a brand new creator. We're talking 3 years ago. And I met Crypto Billy. You can see him over there on the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Billy Goat Tales. I met him at Consensus 3 years ago. Consensus is more for like altcoins as opposed to, you know, the Bitcoin conference. That's an annual conference. And like we just connected right away. This guy, I knew his mission was to connect people because he has this motto. It's called FYP, Find Your People. And I'm part of that group. And tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on Twitter, we have a lot of people that are going to come through. We're going to talk about Christmas. It's going to be with a lot of content creators that are much bigger than me, by the way. I'm just a guy on YouTube with a mic. And we will bring it all together. You know, crypto's way bigger than just making money. It is about finding family, finding your people, and let's go ahead and make it happen. I'll catch you guys over there later today. But let's go ahead and knock out a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up this stream. What is funny is that silver is used in electronics, including Apple products, says Carl. Yeah, I mean, I would say, so I'll be honest, the big reason that I'm a believer in gold in particular is how it's referenced in heaven. So if you read the Bible, if you're a believer, like why would a scam or something that ends up not playing out be, you know, in the roads of heaven, you know? So it's something that you got to ask yourself. But I think gold is definitely worth buying. Silver, I mean, it's the second one. It's like the altcoin. It's the Ethereum of gold, you know? So it's more usable. Gold isn't used too much in very valuable things, but silver is. So Dung Knight says, what's the best project in crypto and why is it Caspa? I like that. So you tried to get me. What's the best project in crypto? You already knew my answer, by the way. It is Caspa. And quick little pitch, if this is your first time hearing about Caspa, I'm going to do this in under a minute. You have this thing called the trilemma. All cryptocurrencies that are peer-to-peer are trying to fix it. It is a combination of security, decentralization, and security. How do I make the perfect money programmable, scalable, and not able to be attacked through governments or these other things? So Caspa has figured it out. In my opinion, it is the best to complete the trilemma. But going into January, we have something called IGRA Labs, which is going to integrate smart contracts. This is what makes Ethereum super valuable. Ethereum owns 77% of all TVL and crypto combined. What does that mean? All of the applications, so all the applications in all of crypto combined. So any DEXs, any borrowing and lending platforms, they have something called TVL. This is all the total value locked in these programs. Ethereum, one blockchain network, accounts for 77%. So we're talking about, it is the internet. Bitcoin is the gold, digital gold. And some people call Ethereum the oil, while I think it's very valuable. And smart contracts are going to be implemented on Caspa soon. So not only is it the superior Bitcoin, it's going to be the superior Ethereum if we compare smart contracts to VPROGs, which VPROGs is something that I have a whole video on. I'm not going to get too long-winded on, but it is the next evolution of smart contracts, which can happen off-chain. So I get super motivated when I talk about this stuff. People always say, hey, Crux, like, why are you pitching a scam? And I ask them, why is it a scam? And they say, look at the price. It went from 22 cents all the way down to 4 cents. And I am not somebody that looks at the price like that. I look at the fundamentals. I look at what is plausible. And that's why I think this is a technology that I can definitely align myself with. All right. So Angel says, Brian coming out with Russell along with Elon. Leave Toshi in the doghouse. I like my Toshi. Bing, you have time for a question. What were your thoughts on the Coinbase announcement? Oh, so that was the announcement. Leave Toshi. Okay, so Brian coming out with Russell. So I'll tell you this, Angel. I don't think that you have to be loyal to any community. So Brian Armstrong, etc., they don't have to say, like, I'm only going to be committed to Toshi. You should enjoy a community because you personally resonate with it. I think that's the most important. Really need to claim 105K, says Mike Jr. I'm just saying 100K because it's psychological and I'm not a trader. So maybe 105K makes more sense. But I think 100K is going to be a very difficult number to jump through. Caspa roadmap is super juicy. Yes, I dropped a short on this, Dung Knight, so make sure you check that out after this. Thank you for the content, by the way. It is great. What can I say? It's your boy Crux. It's my first year of creating content, so I haven't even completed a year yet. My live streams are doing okay. My static content's doing amazing. Shorts are doing pretty good. So I am definitely a static content creator. I like my scripts that I write. I like the formality. I like the organization. This live stream is just me getting my thoughts out there. And I think these are very important in terms of you guys understand I am a person. I'm not a robot reading a script. And that's super important. So you guys see both sides of me. Juby, is it your plan to just buy Bitcoin with your dry powder, then roll it into alts later in the cycle? Let's quickly talk about what I said earlier, Juby. I'm not sure if you missed it, but this right here is MSTR. If you see going out of a bear winter, crypto stocks typically crush Bitcoin going through their first year out of their winter. So what I think is going into 2027, the Coinbases, the MSTRs, the Marathons, all these crypto stocks are going to do well in 2027. All the way into like 2028, I would probably then swap those projects into Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? Because everyone tried to get cute with it. They tried to go get crypto gaming and get all the projects like the metaverse picks, like a Decentraland, a Mana. They try to get an Axie Infinity. They try to get the next best thing because crypto gaming worked back in 2021. It did not work this cycle. So what going into next bull market, how do we know what narrative's going to work? This was the first cycle for AI to do well. If you looked at AGIX, which was in Fetch last bull market, it did not do what it did this cycle. So why do I think Bitcoin's going to be the big winner? It's because you don't have to make that guess. You can get the project that's doing well. And then once we get into that third year of a bull market, that's whenever we can start diversifying out of our Bitcoin into those altcoins. And I think that's the safest way to play it. And again, this is me going through 2 cycles, living it. I'm talking up or down 6 figures in single days. A lot of money invested in this stuff. And I speak out of experience. I speak out of emotion. And I strongly encourage you guys to heed caution going forward if you're just going to jump into alts in the middle of a bear market. So, all right, let's read a couple more. I got 2 more minutes with you guys. ICP is a dark horse. Wrong again. I think ICP has potential. I think Near Protocol, well, I'm not going to give the spoiler. Definitely watch my ICP versus Near video. That video I get super nerdy on. I even whip the glasses out. Look. I whip the glasses out in that video. I typically never wear glasses, but it makes me look a little smarter. So I love Toshi, says Angel. I like it too. Toshi's a top 3 meme coin. It's up there with the SPX 6900. I like Doge. I even like some Pepe. Why not? Reclaim 90K in 4-year cycles. Start puckering. No. Wrong again. All right. Wrong again. I'm going to give you a little time for this rebuttal. I'm going to have to hear this in the comments. 90K 4-year cycle. I'm talking like we got to get a minimum to 100K. And no, I can't open a chart and show you exactly which moving average or whatever is going to be able to like back this. But I'm just going off of like what seems like common sense. Like 90K, we fell from 126K. So that's already a pretty big fall. We fell like 33% from cycle high to recent low. I think the 4-year cycles are definitely feeling themselves right now. Do you think Night is the only thing that is keeping ADA afloat? Joe Bro, no. So if you looked at the thumbnail, you see there's possibly going to be something coming on with Solana. Solana is crushing it, by the way. Near Intense, I just talked about that in my Near versus ICP video. Near Intense just integrated into Solana. All the best blockchains, all of them, are integrating into Solana. Cardano has chosen one network to possibly work with, and guess what? It's Cardano. So who hates Cardano? I don't know. I definitely don't hate it. Angel says, sorry, I'm using voice chat, and it seems to mess up what I'm trying to say. Anyways, thank you, Crux. Love your point of view. Appreciate you, Angel. Thank you for all the support you give. Joe Bro says 100K. Now he says 106K. I love the glasses, Crux. You wear them well. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Angel. Appreciate your comments. Right. So it got to 3 minutes. Well, it's 3 p.m. my time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. Actually, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. Hour past the start of the live stream. I will be doing live streams every Thursday now. So I will not be here on Thursday from here on out. But again, a third static video will be dropped every single week. I really, and just to wrap all this up, I really want crypto to play out. Probably more than most people, even though I do believe that we are headed in a bear winter. So my takes on price action have nothing to do with my beliefs on crypto. I want crypto to win because it's what needs to win for people to create their own freedoms. So I talked a lot about the ECB earlier. If you didn't hear my thoughts on Christine Lagarde and the European Central Bank and the direction that they're pushing society, I strongly recommend you go back and watch it because it is huge. It's the reason why I'm here. I want everybody to be able to create their own wealth and to create their own freedom. And this channel will help you get there. So if it's your first time, hit that like, smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next Thursday. And also, have a Merry Christmas. Love you all. Peace.